Good morning, class, and welcome to our Python tutorial class today. My name is Uchenna Michael Abali, and I'll be your teacher for today. And this morning we shall be looking at a new topic in our class. Meanwhile, last week we went through a little. We went through a lot last week. In our last class, we talked about the Python namespace. Okay, and we were able to look at a few things there and also other topics as well. So this morning we shall be looking at Python flow control, and in the Python flow control we shall be capturing the if-else statement, the if-elif statement, how to use the Python pass statements. Possibly we look at the Python break and continue statements, and also we possibly also look at the Python string operations. Python string operation. You're welcome. So now we're going to start with the Python flow control. I'm going to start with the Python flow control. Python flow control. Yes. So it's actually important for you to be able to control the flow of your program or your code in the course of writing that, and the only way we do this is by using the control elements like the if statement control or conditional, then the else, the elif. So you need to understand the meaning of all these the if statements. So we're going to quickly start immediately. For instance, I can introduce, sorry, let me use lowercase for this. I can say number is equals to 5. Number is equal to 5, then I'll just go ahead and say if. I'll use my if number is less than 5, if number less than 5, okay, if number less than 5, print number is less than 5. Else I'll still introduce my column. Print number is not less than 5. It's not less than, sorry, it's not less than, also than 5. Okay. All right, so we have this now. We said number equals to 5. Now actually number is equals to 5, and now we are trying to make a statement here, the flow control, to be able to get some outputs. You're saying, okay, if number is less than 5, print number is less than 5. Else, print number is not less than 5. Let me run the code. Now what happens is that by the time I run the code now, it should look at these two options. The first one is in the first block, the if block. The if block, this is the if block, and then you have your column here, then you have your outcome, print output. Last time we talked about input and output, and now you should be able to know where the output is and when the input is. Okay, good. So now this is the input, number is equal to 5. So now this is just the conditional control. If number is less than 5, and then you have your output section here. And the output, if you look at it, I told you that we talked about indentation. We've talked about indentation in our class here, and I want to believe by now it shouldn't be an issue because we said once a function like this is a function now, if function is introduced, the next line of code that comes in must be under that block, the if block, and then must also be indented. And I told you that indentation simply means spacing, and this is the start point for this program. This is the line mark for this program, and indentation simply means that the next line under this if block must be spaced four spaces. If I go back, it has to be 1 2 3 4 spaces. That is the conventional convention in Python program. And if it is not that way, you discover you have an error called indentation error. So in this case we are good. All right, so now after this block I have the next block, which is the else block. You notice that after the if block I brought in my output. Then to introduce the else, because we're talking about if else, okay, conditional control. Don't forget our topic, we are looking at Python flow control. Now we are looking at the if else. So the if was introduced here to take care of this condition. If this condition is not true, then it quickly jump to the next condition, the else condition. Yes, but if this condition is true, this else condition will not be executed. Yes, so you're looking at it now, number is 5, you can see that, but I said if number is less than 5, which we know number is not less than 5, number is equals to 5. It's a print number is less than 5, else print number is not less than 5. So definitely if Python wants to execute this program, it will just come to this point, we know that yes, this is false, number is not less than 5, it will jump straight to the last else case, and then this will be executed. So if we run this program now, I'm expecting Python to give me this outcome. Our output should be number is not less than 5. That's what I'm expecting. So let's run the program now. Good. So we have our output number is not less than 5. Good. That is how we use our Python flow control. So this can be applied severally in different cases as we write our codes. This can be applied severally in many occasions. So what's very important is for you to understand the principles behind the operation of this concept. So that's just it. Good. So this is the Python if else statement. So now we're going to look at the Python if, elif, and else. If, elif, and else statement. Python if, elif, and else statement. Let me just write that down here. Okay, the Python if, elif, and else statements. Okay, so Python if, elif, and else statement. Now in this case we're going to be using this condition. So we're going to be using the if. By now you know how to use the if. The previous example we used the if and the else, but now we're introducing the elif statement. And the very simple meaning of elif simply means else if. Okay, simply mean else if. It's a combination of else if. Okay, just like saying okay, this happens and then else. If it doesn't go that way, then this happens. Then if it doesn't go that way, then this happens. Okay, so good. So we can use this. We're just going to cite a very good example. Maybe you want to kind of design a program that will kind of calculate the grade, a student's grade. Okay, student grade in a secondary school. You can simply say, you can take an input, for instance. I think the last time we learned how to take an input, you can say score, student score is equals to input, then said please enter your score, please enter your score, exam score. Alright, so please please enter your exam score. That will be your input. That means you want to write a program that will calculate the grade, the student grade. Let me use a comment to specify what we want to do, to define what we want to do. We want to write a code to calculate, to print out student's grade, student examination grade. Okay, so to be a program that will print out the grade, okay, the examination grade for students. Now, all we need to do is just to have the students supply their exam score, okay, and then it will print out the grade. If it's passed, it will tell you have passed your exam. If it's failed, it will tell you failed the exam, or it will tell you it's an excellent performance. Yes, but we know how it works in secondary school. We know so well that there is grading from 0 to 40. You can say okay, 0 to 39 is pass mark. Okay, now let's just use that. We can say if score, we're making reference to the score now, so if score less than, if score is less than 40, okay, print. Now I'm using the if block now. Print you have failed your exam. You can say sorry, you have failed your examination. Now that's the first block. Now there are so many conditions and I must capture them. Now I'll say the next I'm going to say elif, then I'll put this, no sorry, elif else means else if score, okay, else if score is less than, I want to take the pass mark now, less than, okay, less than, elif score less than 60, less than 60, okay, print manageably passed your examination. Okay, you can say elif again. Elif again. So you can introduce as many elif as you want. There is no restriction to the ellipse. You can have even hundreds of ellipses depending on the conditions you are attaching to the code you're writing. So you can still have elif score less than 80, less than 80, passed with a good grade. You have passed your exam. you have passed your examination impressively. Or you say impressive performance. Impressive. Impressive. Performance. Column. Then you can now see. I can introduce under elif again. I can say elif. Okay, elif score. So you can use as many elif, as much elif as you want to use. Elif score greater than. Elif score greater than 80. Okay, prints excellent performance. Excellent performance. Performance. Indeed. All right. So now we have that. Okay. Then. Now, finally, we can introduce the else. We can introduce the else statement to close to wrap off everything. Else. Else means the option supplied is not among all the options. Okay, you expected. So we can just now say else prints invalid entry. Invalid entry. Enter a new score. A new score. Okay. Alright, so invalid entry. Please enter a new score. So let's just go over our program again, because you have to, after writing your code, it's important you look at your code closely, very closely, so otherwise, to avoid having errors. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do, we're dealing with numbers, but in my input statement here, I didn't specify numbers. I just said input, please enter your exam score. Exam scores are going to be numbers, because already you can see I specified numbers here. So I'll just come here and do a conversion. The last time I told us that it's necessary we do a conversion in order to avoid errors. So we're going to convert all our inputs to floating point numbers. Floats. So that is what I just did now. Everything in bracket, then I converted all inputs to a floating point number. So that's just it. So I'm going to check the next line. If do I have any indentation error, I'm going to check out that if there's any indentation. There's no indentation error, then all my codes should be okay. So I'll just run the code and see what happens. I hope. Okay, I'll run the code. Good. It's asking me to supply a score. Please enter your exam score. I'll come down here and enter my exam score. Let me enter something below 40. Let's say 38. good. So let me see what happens there. All right. Now I enter 38. Say sorry, you have failed your examination. Okay, sorry, you have failed your examination. That's the outcome. Now let's look at that. In the first instance, you have your if score is less than 40, and you know 38 is less than 40, so it's telling you that sorry, you have failed your examination. Okay, good. So with this code, okay, let's look at all the options, explore the options now within the ranges we have supplied. Now let me take 50 now. My score, maybe the score of the student is 50. I'll just enter it now. Oh, you have manageably passed your examination. Okay, which is the next. I think that was the second option we provided. You have manageably passed your examination. So let me enter a score that is below 80 but close to 80. Let me enter a score below 80 but close to 80. Now please enter your examination score. I will enter a score, let's say 65 or 62. Around. So impressive performance, well done. Okay, so impressive performance, well done. So now let me enter a score that is above 80. Okay, a score above 80. So I'm gonna enter the score. Let's say I have 65. Sorry. I have 89. Excellent performance. You're indeed a genius. Excellent performance. You're indeed a genius. So you can see this can actually you can use this to write your grade or grade student performances in an examination. Okay, so and this is what we call a Python flow control. This is how we control. Apart from this, we can apply this in other instances as well. Okay, we can apply this in other instances. We can add to, we can say more. Okay, alright, we can also write a code using the same pattern. We can write a code to a kind of figure out if somebody's a male or a female. Okay, if it's a male. Now before we leave this, what if because we have in the else statement, the final statement at the else block, it's a print invalid entry, please enter a new score. Now what if somebody, you tell maybe a student is asked to supply, you run your code and then you said okay, please enter your score, then somebody enters a name. You said okay, you just enter the name Samuel. Enter the name Samuel. Okay, so it's giving you okay, value error could not convert string to floats. Okay, all right, now let's take another option. Let's say okay, I was just trying to figure out an option that would take care of the last elif statement. Yes, the last elif statement. So the last elif statement, in that case I can actually I can simply convert this to an elif. I can make this to be my last statement there. Sorry, to my else statement. I can make this to be the else statement while I delete this. So if I do that, this still captures the last option. Else statement captures the last option, because after all the elifs you've introduced, the last closing block should be the else. So that's why I decided to change this, and I took out the last line of code. Okay, so if I still decide to run the code and enter a figure that will be close to 100 or above 80, maybe invalid syntax, finish. What's the issue here? So let me see please. Okay, else. Else score. Okay, now when you use your else block, you don't need to put this score. just take this out totally. It automatically calculates and captures everything about that. Else, print excellent performance, you're indeed a genius. Okay, that's what we're trying to point out there. So I'll just run that. Good. So I'll take a number that is above 80, let's say 82 or 88. Now, excellent performance, you're indeed a genius, have been captured. So the last line of code there should end with an else block. Okay, you had your if, started with your if, then you have your elif, then you have your elif introducing other conditions. Then at the end of the condition, the final condition should be your else block. So in the code we've written here, we have one else block, then two elifs block, and then we have the else block ending the line of code. So let's take note to that. So like I said, apart from taking students course, we can also apply this to any other thing we can use. Apply this to something else. Maybe you want to measure the weight, someone's weight. Okay, so you can simply change this code. We can just change this code. We can say name equals to John. If I don't want to say name, I can still take it like an input. Now let's start taking inputs, please. Now we can say inputs. Please enter your name. Enter your name. That's the first input. Then you can say weight. You want to measure someone's weight, then you can say input again. You want to write a code to measure someone's weight. But weight, okay, weight. Then you say, please enter your weight. Now, weight is going to be in figures, it's going to be integer, so it will be okay for us to convert this to integer. Let's do a conversion to this. Since weight is going to be integer, anything that has to be integer, always do a conversion, please. I'm converting this to float, to a floating point number, so that's this. Now, good. So I have this option. I'll just get the name, then I'll get the weight. The person will just enter the name, enter the weight, then automatically we're going to calculate if the person is overweight or underweight. Okay, or you can just say, okay, you want to use the weight to determine if that person is feeding properly. Okay, I'll just take this code out. I'll just delete this line of code. Then I'll say if weight, okay, if weight is greater than okay, if weight is less than 50, okay, then you say print in bracket you say name, comma, I put a string here and put s. It's highly underfed. Okay. Okay, let me say name is, sorry, I'll put this in as a string. Name It's not healthy. Okay, it's underweight. Okay, it's underweight. Okay, so no, name is underweight. Okay, then I'll ship this. Use an elif block here. Elif weight, okay, less than 60. If weights less than 65, prints. If weight less than 65, prints name, comma, name. Okay. Okay. It's on the way. Okay. Name is what do I say now? Okay. I say if weight is less than 65, you can see. Okay. You can say okay. You can say names, okay, plus name. Put an S there. Weights. Sorry. Named weights is normal. Is normal. I hope I'm okay with that. I will look at that code again. I think there should be something there. Named weight is normal. Just take this out. No, I'm not taking that out. I'll just introduce this. Okay, so then I'll put an else block. Else prints name, comma, is overweight. Okay, good. So now I want to run the code, but this code is actually meant to help you check somebody's weights. The medically there's been this evaluation of weight, and then there's a chart that tells you that this weight, between this weight, is somebody will be assumed to be underweight, and then within this range of weight somebody will be assumed to have a normal weight, and then within this range of weight somebody will be assumed to have overweight. Okay, now this program is meant to check that. That's the essence of this program. Where I need to look at now, I need to look at the elif code. I'm looking at this. I will just take this off for now. I will leave it this way for now. I think this should be okay. Good. So now I'm going to run this code, and what this code is going to do is going to ask the user his or her name, take the name, and then take the weight. The person will just, maybe the person had gone to the hospital, he has the weight, just go and check if you're overweight or not. So you just take the name of the user, and then you supply the weight. It's going to tell you if you're underweight or overweight, or your weight is normal. That's the essence of it. So let's run the program and see how it goes. Now please enter your name. My name is Jude Okosu. Please enter your weights. Weight is 23.5. Jude Okosu is underweight. Now you can see the program prints Jude Okosu is underweight. Now let's look at how this, the output actually came. So now let's go back to our prints. said if weight is less than 50, print name is underweight. Pay attention to something, please. Name. The name here is the entry you made here. Now, in the print line, you can see how we used it. We didn't just write Jude Okusun there because I don't know whose name is going to be entered. It's going to be fed into the input line, so that's why we just write a program that can accommodate any name at all, or whoever is coming to kind of use this code or the program. Now, since Jude was supplied, instead of putting name is underweight, he just changed this name to Jude. So the name here is a variable that contains values, and the value in this case is going to be the name that is supplied. So with whatever name that is entered in the input line for name is going to be, this is going to carry that immediately. It's going to be stored here. So that is why when you are writing your print function, you use your name. Print name is underweight. Now you can see Jude Okusun is underweight because Jude Okusun is the name that is stored into this variable name. Now let's run this code again. We're going to use another name now. Okay, enter your name. You click here, then you enter Mohammed Isa. It's going to ask you to enter your weight. And so your weight is 64. Then you run your code. Mohammed Isa's weight is normal. Mohammed Isa's weight is normal. So let me do something there. I want to take this out. I want to. Okay, it's okay. Now let me run that code again. I want to take the Mohammed Isa case again. Now you can say Mohammed Isa's weight is normal. Please have to introduce. Let me just leave it that way for now. That won't work. Alright. I'll just. Okay. Now let me run this code again. Enter your name. Mohammed. Enter your weight, 64. Okay. Mohammed Isa's weight, Mohammed Isa's weight is normal. It's normal. I was talking about this. So what I just did here, I just worked on this S. That was what I tried to do there. Worked on the S to bring that close. I introduced a plus here to add this to this. In Python program, this is called concatenation. Concatenation, where you bring a string, you add a string to a string, is concatenation. And this is done using the plus sign. Okay, good. So now we're going to test the last one, the overweight. We're going to see how it goes. Now I'm going to enter a name. The name is whatever name. Okay. I'm going to enter a name. Sunny Jacobs. Sunny Jacobs. Okay. So Sunny Jacobs' weight is over 65. Okay, it's 80, very robust, very fast. So Sunny Jacobs is overweight. Okay, Sunny Jacobs is overweight. So you can see that with this we are able to write a code to check the weight, okay, of individuals. Okay, the weight of individuals. So that is just it. So I believe you can comfortably, work with the if, elif, and else statements. But as much as possible, I would like to advise you to make sure you practice constantly, because without practice, it will remain strange to you if you don't practice. But the best way to get it right is by practicing constantly. If you practice constantly, definitely you get it right. Yes. So that is just it for the Python flow control under if else statement. We've looked at the if else, we've looked at the if elif else statements. Then now I just want to briefly introduce the Python pass statement. Okay. Permit me to clean this. Alright, the Python pass statements. I want to briefly introduce this Python pass statements. Pass statement. So now we use the Python's pass statements. Okay, let me just introduce a code, a user-defined code. I can say check name. Okay, check name. Okay, so now this is a user-defined statement, and anytime you want to introduce a user-defined statement, you always use your def keyword, def keyword. All right, so or let me say a user-defined function, please. So use your def keyword to introduce a user-defined function. So the moment this is introduced, your function will expect you to write a code. You have to write a code under this function. Right? So now maybe you are not ready to write a code in this function yet. Okay. If I run this code now without writing any code under this function, it will give me an error. It's going to give me an error. So let me run the code. So I'm having an error. Okay. So okay. So, but it's giving me an error though. So I'm having an error there. So indentation error, expected an indented block. Okay, expected an indented block, but now there is no block there. But the very simple way to avoid this is by simply typing in a pass. Typing in a pass. Okay. Typing in a pass. So now I just typed in a pass and ran the code again. You can see there is no error in the code. And I told us that each time you have your process finished with exit code 0, it means that the program is perfect. There is nothing wrong with the program. Okay, so now maybe you are writing a code and you are here at this moment. You want to write a code, but maybe you want to deal with the instances first before coming back to deal with your check name definition. Okay, so now it will be very advisable for you to just enter a pass. So that's where the Python pass statements becomes useful. This is like one of the shortest. It's just very simple. That's just all about it. But the basic thing about it is that it helps you to avoid error. Okay, so you just write pass. If I take this out again and run the code, I will still have an error. Good. So I'm having that same error. So the only way I can avoid this, since I'm not ready, I need to go down maybe to write or define this code. I can just write, put a pass there. Once I have that and run this code, it won't give me an error. Okay, so there is no error in this code now. It's telling you that everything is just in order. So the Python pass is just like telling them, "Hey guy, just calm down please, everything is just okay, just give it an approval right now that we're coming back to do something here." So that's the use of the Python pass statement. Okay, so that is just all about the statement. Now I wanted us to look at the Python break and continue. Python break and continue statement. Python break and continue statements. Alright, So Python break and continue. Statements. Just going to break and continue. Continue. All right. So now, this is also another very important tool, very useful in the Python program. You can have numbers, a list of numbers. A list of numbers. Okay, let me start. Let me just progress. Okay, so I have these numbers now, and I want to print these numbers. I want the Python program to print these numbers one after the other. I'm going to use a for loop. I'll just loop through it so that it can just give me everything. For I'll say for number in numbers print. I'm just going to, let me just run the print first. Let's take it bit by bit. I'll run the print and explain this, then we'll go back and use the break and continue statement. Now, okay, now for number in numbers, print number. Okay, print number. So this is going to give me every single item in that list. I'll just run this. Every single item on that list will be printed out, and that's what we have down here. I just use my for loop to get all this. So it's giving me from 1 to 9. Okay, from 1 to 9. That's what I have there. Okay, good. So now, let me see how to introduce my break statements. For numbers in numbers, if number equals to 4, okay, break. All right. If number is equals to 4, break. Now let's look at the outcome. I printed, and I'm having from 1 to 3. From 1 to 3. So what happens? I introduced the break statement here. Now I said for number in numbers, in this list of numbers, if number is equals to 4, break. It means once you encounter 4, stop. Don't print again. Now when I printed it out, it just went from 1 to 3. The moment it got to 4, it just stopped immediately. So that's how the break statement works. It actually just stops immediately. Initially, if I take this break out and take the if block out, okay, if I take that out, take this out, and run this code again, all the numbers will be printed out. Oh, you can see it there printed out. 1 to 9. But now with this break statements, if number is equal to 4, break. I run it. Once it encounters 4, it will stop. It will not go on. It goes. What's happening here is that it now comes for number in numbers. That I explained to us that when you're using your for loop, for number, this number makes reference to every single number. For number in numbers, numbers is the entire list. This one is the entire list. This number here is a single item in the list. these numbers here is the entire list. Please don't get yourself confused. Don't get confused here. Number and numbers are not the same. They're not talking about the same thing. Number here talks about single items inside this list, and numbers talks about the name, assignment, variable name of this list. And you can see this is singular, this is plural. Singular because it talks about the single items in the list, plural because it talks about all the items in the list. So for loop takes care of every single, it treats every single number one after the other. That's a very simple explanation to the for loop. It takes all the items one after the other. So it goes from one, treats one specially, then before it prints two. That's why if you look at the list, it goes from 1, 2, 3. So that's what happens. Okay, so now I want to believe you can use the break statement. Now let's see how we can use the continue statement. I will still use the same pattern. I will only introduce continue here. I'll say if number is equals to 5, then instead of putting a break, I'm going to introduce my continue. So if number is equals to 5, continue. Then I'll print number again. Good. So now let's look at our list. This is our outcome. I don't know if you're noticing any difference there. Now you notice that in that list, the output there will be no 5 there. There will be no 5. It goes from 1, 2, 3, 4. Then after 4 you have 6. 5 was not printed. Now because you gave a command here, if number is equal to 5, continue. So what happens is that it skips 5. Alright, you don't want to print 5, so it just keeps the 5, jumps to the next number after 5, which is 6, and then it prints out everything. So it starts from the beginning of the list, from 1 to 4, then it skips 5, jumps to 6, and prints to 9. So that is exactly what happens there, or what just happened there. So it's a very simple way of using the Python, break and continue statements. Alright, so this morning we have covered a whole lot this morning. We have looked at the if-else statement, the if, elif, and else statement. We've looked at the Python break and continue statement, and also the Python parse. Like I regularly and normally emphasize, I would really recommend that you, as much as possible and as a matter of sincerity and importance, you need to practice this regularly. Please practice this regularly. Yes. Because of time, I might not be able to go through the string operation, but in the next class, that will be the first topic I'm going to capture. We'll just look at the strings and the few operations we can do with the string, like the len, and then how to split the strings into words. We're going to look at how to find the number of, how to split our string into, or how to bring a string into letters. Okay, how to parse your strings, how to convert your strings into uppercase and lowercase letters. Yes, so we're going to look at that, and then how to search through items in your string. Yes, so that will be the next topic we're going to look at, and then also we can look at more other topics if time permits. It's been nice, spending this time with you, and I want to appreciate your commitments. I want to appreciate your focus and continuity, and I do hope that you become a very professional and very good coder in the shortest possible time. Yes, once again, my name is Uchenna Michael Abali, and this is Domino Kids Tech Academy, and it's been nice having you, and we want to let you know that registration is ongoing in Domino Kids Tech Academy, and you can avail yourself the opportunity, register with us today, and join us as we progress in the coding journey. So I'm going to drop the websites in the description box in this YouTube video, and then also you can make reference to that. And if you like our videos and you want to have more of this, you want to join us as we code together, you can do well also by hitting the like button and then also subscribe so that anytime we drop a new video, you'll be able to get them immediately. Yes, thank you very much. I really appreciate your time. Thank you, and God bless you. Thank you very much.